When I was speaking about my 100mm macro, I said that my 70-200 was collecting dust in the closet. Now it's time to take it for a spin, shall we? I've got 70-200 2.8, the second version. When I was considering whether to buy this lens or not, there already was the third iteration of this lens, but I decided not to buy it because it would provide the minimum amount of advantages of the second version for considerably higher price, which I did not want to spend, so I settled down for the second version of 70-200. This is my second lens ever, the first one was 24-70. And I bought this lens because I wanted to make portraits, and I really love this out-of-focus blurry background. Well, at least I thought I did. Soon after I bought it, I realized that there are not so many things or people available to me to use this lens for. I wasn't ready for this lens, I didn't know how to use it, how to apply, where to apply it, what to do with it. So after a couple of months of trying, I just put it on my shelf to collect dust. Then I needed a macro lens, so I bought this 100mm macro. Surprisingly, without even realizing it consciously, I started to use this lens more and more often, not as a macro lens, but as a telephoto one. Only then did I realize that I've got the king of telephoto lenses sitting in my closet. The first thing I'd like to clarify before I continue this review is that I used to say that my 100mm macro was incredibly sharp, and 70-200 was kinda like not so much. Oh boy, this cannot be further from the truth. Of course, 100mm macro being a prime lens is incredibly sharp, but 70-200 is not so far behind considering it's a zoom one. Now let's get to the pros and cons of this lens. I've already spoken about the first advantage. It is an extremely sharp lens. For example, look at this photo. The second advantage is so important to me. This lens is very versatile, not only because of its wide range of focal length from 70-200, but also because of its maximum aperture, which is 2.8. And, which is most important to me as a videographer, this lens is image stabilized. As you know, the longer the focal length, the harder it is to find this micro jitter that is being introduced when you're shooting handheld. That's why for focal length like this, an image stabilizer is a must. Also, of course, this is an L series lens. It means that it's weather sealed. Couple it with a weather sealed body and you've got a pretty nice package for you not to worry about the weather when you're shooting your movie or your photo shoot. Now, let's move to the drawbacks, shall we? The first drawback you just immediately get to realize when you buy this lens is that this lens is heavy. If you're shooting outside, you'll think twice before taking this lens. It's not only heavy, it's gonna take a lot of room in your camera bag because it is a big lens. The thing that is not so obvious at the beginning when you buy this is that the minimum focus distance is 1.2 meters. It's quite far away. That's why if you're planning to get really close to a character or to a thing that you're shooting, you need a macro lens, not this one. But this lens was not designed for you to get close to a subject. This is a telephoto lens. And for this purpose only, this lens is superb. Let's go further down the list. Here is you've got the minimum focus distance of 1.2 meters or 2.5 meters. Then autofocus off or on as usual. Then stabilizer off or on. And there is two stabilizer modes. Frankly speaking, I did not make a test about whether this mode one has advantage over the other, because the first mode was always good for me. It never failed me, I just left it in the first mode and just continue shooting ever since. For conclusion, I have switched from my 16-35 to this 70-200. Well, this lens is heavy, this lens is big and long and enormous, but it is definitely worth it, at least for me. One thing I wanted to mention before ending this video. Beware, if you've got an APS-C sensor, you're gonna have a crop factor of probably 1.6, a standard crop factor is 1.6. It means that you'll get not 70-200, but 112-320 lens, which is a totally different deal. 112-320 will be very difficult to use in a room. For example, I'm filming myself and my camera, when it's filming 4K, has got a crop factor of 1.3 approximately. And my camera is sitting far away from me. Very far away from me. Like just at the end of my room. It's not really designed for shooting in a compact spaces. For this you will need an ultra-wide, a wide lens. I guess this is kinda obvious, but I wanted to give you a warning if you just, after watching your review, would rush to buy this lens, after all, just flattering words. So, again, depending on what you're doing, purchase this or not. Anyway, thank you for sticking to the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!